Okay, so now that we've talked about creating stability and showing up for someone from a place of love, how do we do that? And this is where I really want to help you understand how the five love languages developed by Dr. Gary Chapman are so important when we are interacting with someone who is in crisis. I would actually say these are elements that we should be infusing throughout our day every day, especially when someone is going through a difficult time. Um, Part of this is to understand, for those of you who, if you're not familiar with the five love languages, is that, Dr. Gary Chapman determined that there are five languages that we all use to give and receive love. It is acts of service, quality time, gifts, physical touch, and words of affirmation. However, while we all experience all five of them, usually only one or two will resonate the deepest with us. And I would say that for me, it's I have three that, and they kind of shift as being the priority love language. And I know that that's true with my children as well. But something that we want to be aware of is that the love languages aren't just how we give and receive love, they are also how we express when we're in pain. And so, what you'll see is the opposite. When someone is in pain and their love language is words of affirmation, they will lash out in their words. They might say something like truly cruel. Someone whose love language is physical touch is going to withdraw their physical touch. They will refuse hugs. They will not hug. They will not touch you. They may even have a tendency to either become physically aggressive or want to become physically aggressive. So they might talk about wanting to hit someone. And so you'll see this happen. And what we want to keep in mind is that when someone is hurting, they are using their love language as a way to protect themselves. So they're not lashing out to be cruel or mean. They're actually guarding themselves, So, again, someone who is quality time or words of affirmation, they might shut people out. They might stop talking to you and really pull back because in that moment they're afraid that if they expose themselves, if they use their love language, then and it's not received well or it's not reciprocated, then they're going to be in even more pain. The thing is that most of us do this every day, but it's on a subconscious level. We don't even realize that we're doing it. Raising our awareness to this helps everyone, helps the person that's going through the difficult situation, as well as those who are trying to support. If you are in the support role, I encourage you during this time to not take anything personal, right? If they lash out, try to understand that this person is hurting. Imagine that if you're interacting with a toddler and the toddler is upset and having a tantrum and falling apart because they are legitimately upset and they don't know how to process it, this is no different. A person who is going through crisis on the inside is like a tsunami of emotions and pain and frustration and oftentimes shame and guilt, embarrassment on top of the pain that they're feeling. So recognize that this time that you're interacting with them, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Focus on the long-term outcome you're hoping to achieve. And then what I'm talking about here is when, like for instance, my daughter Kaylee, when she gets really upset and she will lash out, say something mean because it's words of affirmation. She'll go to her room and shut the door because she also top love language is quality time. And so I knock on the door. I always knock on my kid's door out of respect. I pop my head in, check in. She'll usually yell and tell me to go away. And I do. Even when she yells at me to shut the door, and everything in me wants to react, right? We want to avoid reactions. We want to focus on responding. When we react, we are operating from a place of fear, uncertainty, and even like that need to control. Whereas when we respond, where we are actually acting from a place of love and compassion with awareness that some things are beyond our control. Um, so in those moments, I don't tell her she can't talk to me that way. I simply shut the door. I go to the kitchen, and I'm recognizing that she probably hasn't had anything to eat yet. Her third love language is acts of service. So I make her food. I then take it to her, kind of take my time in between, but I do take her the food. Again, knock on the door, give her the food, check in, let her know, hey, just want you to know I'm sorry that you're hurting right now. If you decide you want to talk, I'm here. But I don't even stay. I don't wait for a response. I definitely don't wait for a thank you. I recognize that in this moment, she's distressed, she's in pain. I'm trying to show up for her in as many ways as I can, speaking a variety of love languages. I then will leave the room. And what I've found is that typically within 10 to 15 minutes, she will come to me. She will apologize for how she's been behaving, and she'll talk to me about what's going on. Now, I can tell you my other daughter, she's very private, very different. So I've had to figure out what works best for each one of them and ways to connect with them. The goal being that each one of them knows I am a safe space for them, a safe space for them to explode if that's what they need to do, a safe space that if they need to withdraw, I respect it. I do it with caution, but I respect it. So for Grace, who becomes very private and shuts down, she doesn't like to talk about what's going on. I want her to know that I'm aware, that I'm noticing something going on, but I know she doesn't like attention drawn to that. So we have a code where I simply say to her, hey, is there anything you want to talk about? When I say to her, is there anything you want to talk about? She knows that I've recognized that something seems off, but I'm not pressuring her. When she's ready to talk, she can come to me. So, again, we want to use a variety of different love languages when we're interacting with people. We want to make sure we're not taking things personal when someone we love is hurting, even for people we don't love. Or I love everyone. And I'm not just saying that, like, I do. So it doesn't matter if you're a stranger or my ex-mother-in-law. I love everyone. And so, I think when we can show up for people from that place of love and really trying to be understanding and compassionate is when we see them start to feel safe and open up about what's going on. And once we get there, that's when we can start looking deeper on what else needs to be done so that this person is feeling supported and cared for in all the ways that matter.